Greetings and welcome to Palmyra United Methodist Church. My name is Eric Anderson and I'm privileged to be the pastor here, and I'm glad you're watching us on YouTube. And I pray that as we gather together today that you may be blessed and you may be filled with God's Holy Spirit. I'm sorry for the past couple of weeks I haven't been able to get these videos out, just the sermon videos, but you have been able, if you wanted to see it on Facebook, the entire Sunday morning service. So if you still want to do that, you can catch us on Sunday mornings at 8 o'clock on Facebook, and we'll try to record that as well so you can watch it at your own pleasure later. But this is just the message here, and I'm glad to be with you. I'm glad to talk with you. Today, we're getting ready for graduation this week, so there's a lot of things going on, and students are graduating all across the nation, and it's really kind of neat. But today, we're going to be talking about the University of God, because the University of God is big. When I first came to Palmyra, that school over there in Hannibal was called Hannibal LaGrange College. A few years later, they changed their name to Hannibal LaGrange University. I remember back when the Methodist school in our state was called Central Methodist College. And later they changed their name to Central Methodist University. It's been kind of a trend in my time to see schools go from being called college to university. And I think that's a kind of a parable. A university is kind of a parable for how God works in our world. See, a college is a school. A university is a collection of schools. At the University of Missouri in Columbia, you'll find several colleges. The College of Agriculture, the College of Arts and Science, the College of Business, the College of Education and Human Development, the College of Engineering, the School of Health Professionals, the School of Journalism, and the School of Nursing. And while all these different educational institutions are related, they each have their own dean, they each have their own specialty. In fact, they each have their own graduation. This year alone, if you go to the University of Missouri, they are having 14 separate graduation services for all the different colleges and specialties. The other thing about a university is it's filled with ideas, all sorts of ideas, all the ideas that you can imagine. It's amazing because all sorts of colleges and all sorts of clubs and organizations coexist on a university campus. When I was at Truman, we had over 200 separate organizations. The University of Missouri has over 600. And they're all sorts of different things. Truman had the Truman Poet Society, the American Chemist Society, roller hockey, Campus Christian Fellowship, PRISM, the Philosophy and Religion Club, the Progressive Student Alliance, Students for Life. I mean, it runs the gamut of organizations. And all these different groups have their own understandings, their own philosophies, their own organizations, but they all coexist on one campus. And the university would be poorer if one of those groups were to leave. And there are points where this organization and that organization disagree strongly with one another, but they are united as a campus. And that's what makes a university a university. I think God has a university. We call it the church. And when we call it the church with a capital C, the one universal global church. And all the denominations and all the different factions of splintering little groups with independent Christian churches, they're all part of the one global church. We're all part of it. Now, it didn't take long for the church to have all these different parts. By the year 70, 40 years after Jesus, 35 years after Jesus' resurrection, in the city of Corinth, there were several different understandings. We read about these groups in Paul's letter to the Corinthians. There was a group that liked the teachings of Paul. There was a group that liked the teachings of this guy called Apollos. There was a group that liked the teachings of Peter. And Paul was trying to get them all on the same page. Be more specific, Paul was trying to get them all on his page, actually. He writes, "Is Christ divided? There should be no divisions among you." Paul says we should be perfectly united in mind and thought. Paul continues this idea in the 3rd chapter. He writes, "For since there is jealousy and quarreling among you, are you not worldly? Are you not acting like mere humans? For when one says, 'I follow Paul,' another says, 'I follow Apollos.' Are you not just human beings? After all, what is Apollos? And what is Paul? We're only servants through whom you came to believe, as the Lord has assigned to each his task. I planted the seed. Apollos watered it, but God is the one that makes it grow." You see, Paul and Apollos, they may not line up perfectly. They may not be perfectly in sync with all the theological intricacies, but they each had a task. The task to share the good news of Jesus Christ with the people of Corinth. Catholics and Pentecostals, liberals and conservatives may not all agree, but we all have the same task: to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of this world. We're all called to make disciples. We're all called for that. Make disciples to learn how to love God and how to love one another, as in the Great Commandment. Now, Paul's unity that he wished for in the year 70 in the city of Corinth has never happened. All that has happened is that the church has divided and divided and divided. And we have divided over issues and topics and theological stances. And if we focus on the issues, we will be forever divided. But if we focus on God and on God's love, there we see unity. Because see, God has a big university. And there's a lot of different schools in that university. But it's a big university. There's a debate going on in our country right now, in our society, over the issue of abortion. Interesting thing is that debate is going on in the churches too. There are churches who love God and who love others, and they believe that abortion is wrong and that women that get pregnant, it's got to carry them to terms. And there are Christians who love God and love others that believe that an unexpected and unwanted pregnancy violates a woman's rights to an abundant Christian life. And both sides have biblical arguments and theological arguments to back their claims. Both sides can turn to the Bible and point to verses and saying, see, look here. Look here. And so often we just looked at one side. Both groups, the pro-life and the pro-choice, both exist in the University of God. You name the issue. Name the issue. There are Christians on both sides of the issue. Gun rights, same-sex, immigration, gambling, alcohol. There are going to be God-loving Christians on both sides of the issue. They're going to be there. During the Civil War, when people were fighting and killing one another, right here in Marion County, both of those sides, they prayed to God. Both sides asked for God's help. And God was with the people on both sides, trying to get them to stop the fighting. God is there. God is there if we listen enough, is in all the issues. And God is with the folks on both sides of those issues. And the thing is, that tends to bother you and me more than it bothers God. Bothers God. So what do we do? What do we do with a big, big God and our little minds? While God can embrace all of us, we have a harder time embracing one another. And we find that difficult. In fact, some of us find it impossible. And so what I think we need to do is, if you can't embrace everybody, don't. You need to find your understanding. You need to find where God is speaking to you. Find where the Spirit is leading you. Find the issues, the concerns, where the Spirit is leading you. And then go do it. Get involved in that church. Get involved in that community. Get invested in that community. Now, if you're a college student, find a campus ministry. They're going to be different. Find a local church that you can connect with and invest yourself there. There's a lot of them, and they're different. But go pick one. You need to find a church, especially you online. You need to find a church that you can plug into. Find a church that's the college that you can connect with, that has this focus that you can connect with, that takes the stands that you can connect with, or is willing to listen to all the stands. Find the one that you can connect with and go invest yourself in it. If you need a church where people can disagree and discuss those things and we can coexist in our disagreements, man, I invite you here. But if you need a church where everybody is the same on all the issues, you need to go find another place. You need to go find a place where everybody agrees with you and go plug in there. Go plug in there. Go find that church. Go find your spot in the University of God and thrive. Go find your spot and thrive there. But remember this, God is bigger than our understandings. God is going to be bigger than that church, that college, theological college that you find. God is bigger than our understandings. And when we are so passionate about an issue, it's hard to imagine that God is also is with those on the other side of that issue. And why we don't have to agree with the folks on the other side whose politics, whose social policies, whose theology is different than our own. If they love Jesus, we need to treat them with respect. Because after all, they're our brothers and our sisters. They're our brothers in faith. They're our sisters in faith. We've got to treat folks with respect, especially other Christians. We need to seek to understand, even if we don't agree, and then find out where we can find common good that we can work on, common ground. We might not be able to agree on A, but maybe we can agree on B and C. One of the places where people see God in this community is in the Advent and Lenten devotionals. These are folks from various churches that gather during those special seasons for a time of fellowship and dessert and reflection. Yeah, they disagree on stuff. But as one person told me, well, we may disagree on issues, but we agree on Jesus. See, God is bigger than our churches. And God is bigger than our denominations. So my friends, get out there. Get out there in the great university of God. Find where you fit in and plug yourself in there and do great things. And remember, not every Christian is going to share your understanding. So respect and love, and when possible, work together to love God and to love others and bring the kingdom home. My My friends, thanks so much for listening. May God bless you and keep you. And hopefully I'll be here next week. But thank you so much. And God's blessings. Good day.